Most gardeners think bigger plants produce bigger harvests. That's why they fill their gardens with sprawling tomatoes, giant squash vines, and cucumbers that seem determined to take over the entire yard. But some of the most productive vegetables you can grow stay under 2 feet tall. In fact, one variety of zucchini on today's list can produce a full harvest while taking up just a fraction of the space most gardeners expect. This is Easy Harvest Gardens, where we keep food gardening simple, honest, and doable for real people with real-sized yards. No fluff, no gimmicks, just what actually works. Let's get into it. Number 17. Mini Romaine, Little Gem. Little Gem solves the biggest space problem with lettuce. Standard romaine sprawls, but Little Gem stays compact at just 6 inches tall and wide. A small pot, even a window box, is all it needs. Direct sow or transplant into well-draining soil in full sun to light shade, and keep the soil consistently moist. It's ready in about 50 to 60 days, and the sweet, buttery hearts are famous for being used as hearts of romaine in restaurant salads. Fascinating fact, Little Gem is also notably heat-tolerant and slow to bolt compared to most lettuce, which is why it holds up so well through a long container-growing season. Number 16. Compact Kale, Dwarf Blue Curled. Standard kale sprawls. Dwarf Blue Curled stays around 12 inches tall, with frilly, ornamental blue-green leaves. A 5-gallon pot with rich, well-draining soil is ideal, in full sun to partial shade. You can start cutting baby leaves in just 3 weeks. With full leaves ready around 55 days. Harvest the outer leaves and the center keeps producing for months. Fascinating fact, kale actually gets sweeter after a light frost, since cold temperatures trigger the plant to convert stored starches into sugar as a natural antifreeze. Number 15. Baby Bok Choy, Toy Choy. Standard bok choy can top a foot tall. Toy Choy was bred as a true miniature, maxing out at just 5 inches. An 8 to 10 inch pot with rich, moist, not soggy soil in full sun to light shade is all it needs. It's ready in as little as 30 days, one of the fastest vegetables on this list. Fascinating fact, despite its tiny size, Toy Choy carries the same vitamin C, vitamin K, and calcium content as full-size bok choy, just packed into a third of the plant. Number 14. Round Radish, Cherry Belle. Cherry Belle is proof that container gardening can deliver near-instant results. This heirloom radish is harvestable in just 22 to 28 days from seed. A pot only 6 to 8 inches deep is enough. Direct sow into loose, well-draining soil, keep evenly moist, and full sun to partial shade. Pull the roots once they reach about 3/4 to 1 inch across. Fascinating fact. Because radishes mature so fast, gardeners often sow them alongside slower crops like carrots, simply to mark the row while everything else is still germinating underground. Number 13. Thumbelina Carrots. Standard carrots need real depth to grow long and straight, but Thumbelina was bred to mature at a round, golf ball size instead, making it one of the only carrots that genuinely thrives in a shallow container. An 8 to 10 inch deep pot works perfectly. Direct sow into loose, sandy, rock-free soil and thin seedlings to 2 inches apart. Ready in about 60 to 70 days, these round little carrots need no peeling at all, just rinse and roast or eat raw. Fascinating fact, Thumbelina was an All-America Selections Award winner, prized specifically for performing well even in heavy clay soil that would deform most other carrot varieties. Number 12. Dwarf Chard, Fordhook Giant. Despite the name, Fordhook Giant stays a manageable 18 to 24 inches in a container and is one of the most forgiving crops on this list. A 12-inch pot with rich, well-draining soil in full sun to partial shade is all it takes. Harvest begins around 50 to 60 days, picking outer leaves continuously, while the center keeps regenerating. Fascinating fact, chard and beets are actually the same species. Beta vulgaris, simply bred in opposite directions, one for leaves, one for root, which is exactly why beet greens taste so similar to chard. Number 11. Round Cabbage, Gonzales Mini. A standard cabbage head can take up serious real estate, but Gonzales was bred specifically as a baby cabbage, producing dense, uniform 4 to 6 inch heads. A 3 to 5 gallon pot per plant is enough. Transplant into rich, well-draining soil in full sun, and keep watering consistent. Inconsistent moisture is the main cause of head splitting. Ready in 55 to 66 days, the compact heads are perfect for a single batch of slaw or a small pot of soup without leftovers piling up in the fridge. Fascinating fact, Gonzales is also sold under the nickname Gonzales Baby, a nod to just how reliably it stays mini-sized compared to standard cabbage varieties. So far, we've covered vegetables that stay small because their leaves or roots stay compact. But the next group is even more impressive because these plants produce full-sized vegetables while taking up only a fraction of the space. Number 10. Patio cucumbers, Spacemaster. Traditional cucumber vines sprawl 6 feet or more, but Spacemaster was bred as a true bush variety, staying just 18 to 24 inches tall and wide, while still producing full-sized 6 to 8 inch cucumbers. You'll want a container at least 12 to 15 inches deep, filled with rich, well-draining soil. Cucumbers are heavy feeders that hate soggy roots. Place it in full sun, 6 or more hours daily, and keep watering consistent, since inconsistent moisture is the main cause of bitter-tasting fruit. Harvest begins 55 to 65 days from seed. Pick the cucumbers at 6 to 8 inches for the best crunch. Letting them overgrow signals the plant to slow down production. Fascinating fact. Spacemaster's dense, bushy growth habit means it can also be trained up a small trellis, effectively doubling as a vertical crop despite being bred as a bush variety. Number 9. Dwarf tomatoes, Patio Princess. If you've ever assumed tomatoes need a giant cage and half your yard, Patio Princess will change your mind. This determinate dwarf stays under 2 feet tall, yet still loads up with 20 to 40 cherry-sized fruits in one concentrated flush. It can technically grow in a pot as small as 1 gallon for the season, though a 3 to 5 gallon pot rewards you with a noticeably bigger harvest. Use a well-draining mix that still holds moisture. Place it in full sun for at least 6 hours daily, and water deeply and consistently. Inconsistent watering is the leading cause of blossom end rot in container tomatoes. You'll harvest around 65 to 70 days from transplant, with most fruit ripening in a tight 2 to 3 week window. The 4 to 5 ounce fruits are perfect for snacking, salads, or roasting whole. Fascinating fact. Because Patio Princess is determinate, it reaches a fixed mature size and simply stops growing taller, meaning no staking, no pruning, and no fighting an unruly vine all summer. Number 8. Compact peppers, Lunchbox Mini Sweet. Standard bell peppers take real space and a long season, but Lunchbox peppers solve both at once. These miniature sweet peppers mature at just 1 to 2 inches wide, packed onto sturdy 18 to 24 inch plants. A 3 to 5 gallon container is plenty, filled with well-drained, fertile soil. A small stake helps once the plant is loaded. Start from transplants, place in full sun, and feed regularly. Peppers are heavy feeders that reward consistent fertilizing with bigger yields. Green peppers are ready in about 55 to 63 days, with another 20 days needed to fully ripen into red, orange, or yellow. The low seed count makes them perfect for snacking straight off the plant. Fascinating fact, Lunchbox isn't actually one single variety. It's a category of miniature sweet peppers, all bred and selected specifically for their fruit-like size and snackability. Number 7. Dwarf eggplant, fairy tale. Eggplant has a reputation for needing a sprawling, heat-soaked garden bed, but fairy tale was bred specifically to break that rule. This true dwarf variety stays compact and productive, with slender lavender and white striped fruits that mature notably earlier than standard eggplant. A 5-gallon container with rich, well-draining soil is ideal. Start from a transplant after all danger of frost has passed, since eggplant is extremely cold-sensitive. Place it in the hottest, sunniest spot available, and keep watering consistent. Drought-stressed eggplant turns bitter fast. Fairy tale produces its slender 3 to 4 inch fruits in clusters, ready to pick once they're firm and glossy. Slice and grill or roast whole. The thin skin means there's no need to peel. Fascinating fact, fairy tale was specifically bred to mature faster than almost any other eggplant variety, which is exactly why it's become one of the most popular dwarf options for gardeners in shorter growing seasons. Number 6. Mini cauliflower, Snowball Yai Improved. Cauliflower has a reputation for being finicky and slow, demanding huge garden beds and constant babysitting, But Snowball we improved quietly solves both problems. This self-blanching heirloom variety produces compact 6 to 12-inch white heads without any of the manual leaf tying that most cauliflower requires. A 3 to 5 gallon container with rich, consistently moist soil is enough for one plant. Transplant into full sun and keep watering steady. Cauliflower that dries out even briefly will produce small, discolored or buttoned heads that never properly form. It's ready in 55 to 65 days. Because it's self-blanching, the outer leaves naturally curl up and over the developing head on their own, shielding it from sunlight and keeping it that classic bright white color without you lifting a finger. Fascinating fact, most cauliflower varieties require gardeners to manually tie the leaves shut around the head to block sunlight and prevent it from yellowing. Snowball Y Improved does this entirely on its own, which is exactly why it's remained a favorite heirloom for over a century despite dozens of newer hybrids hitting the market since. Number 5. Bush beans, Mascotte. Most green beans either need a tall trellis or take over an entire bed, but Mascotte was the first bean variety bred specifically as a true container crop, and it earned an All-America Selections Award for doing it. This compact French bush bean stays just 16 to 18 inches tall. A 12 to 15-inch container is all it needs, filled with fertile, well-draining soil. Direct sow once the soil has warmed and nights stay above 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep watering consistent through flowering and pod set. When the plant needs moisture most, harvest comes fast, just 50 to 55 days from seed. The slender 5 to 6-inch pods sit at the top of the plant, clear of the foliage, making them easy to spot and pick. Fascinating fact, Mascotte was the first bean to win the All-America Selections Vegetable Award since 1991, ending a 23-year gap and signaling just how significant a true container-bred bean was for small-space gardeners. Number 4. Bush peas, Sugar Ann. Climbing peas demand trellises and vertical space, but Sugar Ann was bred to skip all of that. This dwarf, self-supporting snap pea reaches only 18 to 24 inches and rarely needs staking at all. A 2-gallon container is enough room, ideally with a well-draining, neutral pH mix. Direct sow about 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date, since peas actually prefer chilly spring weather. Keep soil moist until germination, then water consistently through flowering. You'll harvest in just 52 to 56 days, about 10 days earlier than most other snap peas, making it one of the fastest pea varieties available. Pick the pods at around 3 inches, when they're plump, sweet, and crisp. Now, before we get into the final stretch, have you ever grown snap peas straight off the vine and eaten them before they even made it inside? Let me know in the comments. And if this list has been useful so far, hit that subscribe button. At Easy Harvest Gardens. We publish a new growing guide like this every week, so you'll never run out of new things to try in your own space. Number 3. Compact broccoli. Cicco. Most broccoli puts all its energy into one giant central head and then quits. But Cicco, an Italian heirloom dating back to 1890, does something far more useful for a small garden. It produces a smaller 3 to 5-inch central head first, then keeps generating side shoots for weeks afterward, giving you a genuinely extended harvest from a single compact plant. A 5-gallon container with rich, well-draining soil works well. Transplant in cool weather, spring or fall, into full sun, and keep the soil consistently moist. Broccoli stressed by drought bolts early and produces small, loose heads. The first head is ready in around 50 days. Cut it just below the head, and the plant will keep pushing out smaller side shoots from the remaining mound. Stem for weeks, often extending your harvest window far beyond what a single head variety could offer. Fascinating fact, because Cicco produces its heads at staggered times rather than all at once, it was historically favored by home gardeners and small market growers specifically because it spreads the harvest out, instead of dumping the entire crop on you in a single week like most modern hybrid broccoli. Number 2. Compact okra, Clemson Spineless. Most gardeners assume okra needs serious space and serious heat tolerance to be worth growing, picturing plants that tower 5 to 6 feet tall, but Clemson Spineless stays far more manageable while still producing heavily, and unlike older okra varieties, its pods and stems are completely free of the irritating spines that make harvesting such a chore. A 5-gallon container gives the deep taproot enough room to develop, Fill it with rich, well-draining soil, and direct sow only once the soil is reliably warm. Okra is extremely cold-sensitive and will sulk for weeks in cool soil. Place it in the sunniest, hottest spot you have. Okra genuinely thrives in heat that wilts almost everything else on this list. Harvest begins around 55 to 60 days from seed. Pick the pods young, at 2 to 3 inches long, since okra turns woody and fibrous almost overnight once it overmatures. Frequent picking is the single biggest factor in keeping the plant productive all season. Fascinating fact: Clemson Spineless was developed at Clemson University, and decades later, it remains one of the most widely grown okra varieties in American home gardens. Proof that sometimes the most valuable breeding improvement isn't a bigger harvest, but simply removing one annoying trait that was making the vegetable harder to grow in the first place. Number 1. Bush Zucchini, Patio Star. And taking the top spot, the single biggest surprise on this entire list, zucchini. Mention zucchini to most gardeners, and the reaction is instant. Sprawling vines, leaves the size of dinner plates, and a plant that swallows half the garden by midsummer. Patio Star was bred specifically to break that reputation completely, staying a tidy 2 feet tall and just 3 feet wide. A 15 to 18-inch diameter container, or roughly a 10-gallon pot, is the minimum. Fill it with rich soil generously amended with compost, since zucchini are notoriously heavy feeders despite their compact size. Direct sow once nighttime temperatures stay reliably above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Place in full sun, and water deeply and regularly. Container squash dry out fast and will drop fruit under stress. Patio Star begins producing remarkably early, in just 40 days from seed, one of the fastest zucchini varieties available, despite producing full-sized, standard 6 to 8-inch fruit. Harvest at around 4 to 6 inches long for the best texture. Picking frequently keeps the plant producing all season long. Fascinating fact: Patio Star produces a genuinely heavy crop of full-size zucchini despite its small 2 by 3 foot footprint, which is exactly the trait that separates a true container variety from a regular garden zucchini that's simply been stuffed into a pot. And it's exactly why this garden monster vegetable earned a spot at the very top of this list. And that wraps up our list of 17 compact and dwarf vegetables that prove you don't need a sprawling backyard to grow real, abundant food. Which one of these are you planning to try first? And is there a compact variety you've had success with that I left off this list? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topic you'd like to see covered next. If this video helped you see your patio, balcony, or small yard a little differently, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. At Easy Harvest Gardens, we're all about making real food gardening simple and achievable, no matter how much or how little space you're working with. Thanks so much for watching, and happy planting.